How's it going, everyone? And as always, welcome back to Continues to Tick. So friends, you're a dividend investor, and you've possibly been doing this for a while. Well, I just reached my 2-year mark for the dividend portfolio. So what does this mean? It means I'm 2 years ahead of where I'd be 2 years ago if I wouldn't have started. There's no real secret to any of this, really. I can come on here and explain to you what I believe are the best tips for starting a dividend portfolio. Come on here and explain to you all what I learned over time so far during this time frame, which I will, by the way. So don't go anywhere. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that just like anything at first, no matter what it is, a dividend portfolio, a new relationship, a desire to be fit again, or maybe for the first time, go back to school maybe, or begin a new career path, the secret remains the same for all of these things. It's just to start. Just start. Begin. Crazy, huh? For example, if I wouldn't have started this dividend portfolio 2 years ago, on July 20th of 2020, I wouldn't be here today, explaining to you the top things I've learned over this time. I also wouldn't likely be here on YouTube, sharing this journey with you, approaching 1,000 subscribers. I wouldn't be here to document and tell you my story. So just please, take it to heart when I say the best advice I can give you, not just for dividend investing, but for life as a whole, is if you have a dream or a goal you desire as an outcome in your life, you need to simply do it, especially when you have the time, when you're young. And considering today is the youngest you'll ever know, stop contemplating, stop negotiating with yourself. Go ahead, partake, take part, no more excuses. Then over time, with consistency, take over. Prove it to yourself. You can stick to a plan. It's honestly one of the best feelings in the world when you accomplish what other people, and even including yourself, initially thought was impossible from so far out. Interesting concept, right? I mean, if I wouldn't have started this journey 2 years ago, I wouldn't be able to be here. You also likely wouldn't be listening to me. The type of mentor that I am is I must live it. I will never teach others what I also haven't experienced. I will only share my thoughts on things I've personally gone through and learned from. So in saying this, let's begin on a rather unorthodox dividend investor tips/advice video. If you asked me, Jesse, what are the top things you have learned as a dividend investor over the first 2 years of building a dividend portfolio? Well, friends, I'd respond like this, starting in chronological order. Here are five things. Number 1. It may sound contradictory, but trust me, when I say this, the least you think of your dividend portfolio, the better it will be for you and your life. I don't know your exact intention, but the reason I began investing in strictly dividend stocks was to create a passive stream of income. The key word is passive, not meaning active, not meaning I'm actively worrying about this thing all the time. Passive, right? Meaning I want more time on my hands for my family, those I care about, for myself. Because trust me, life is busy as it is, especially if you engage on a path of constant personal growth. You'll soon realize that worrying about a dividend portfolio can take a lot of your daily thought capacity that I personally believe is best used in other areas of our lives. Number 2. So this one is like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? How can I not worry about my portfolio all the time? Well, by number 2, taking your full time to research stocks and create a dividend portfolio that aligns and coincides with your life's goal, dream, or outcome. If looking back at number 1, our goal is to not think about our dividend portfolio often. Therefore, it's critical to create a rock-solid portfolio to begin with, one that doesn't need constant supervision, one that allows this extra time and peace of mind. An example of this, I took about a month of time stressing out on which stocks I'd choose when I first started, and how much percentage for each stock, and then each sector. This was the hardest and definitely the most time-consuming part for me, and this is what truly took the most effort and work. However, once I had it planned and structured on paper, how I'd want it, I went on to M1 at that time, or whatever brokerage it is that you use, and created the portfolio I believed in, that I would enjoy watching grow over time without having to worry about it daily. And let me tell you, friends, I haven't truly sold many stocks, if at all, since I've started. Number 3, which gets us to number 3, don't sell often. I know this may sound contradictory as well. What do you mean I don't sell? Yes, just don't sell. The key here though, is you have to have all these tips in sequence. If you followed number 2, there's less reason to sell a stock. And if you're also not thinking about your portfolio all the time, you're not worrying about day-to-day or week-to-week fluctuations, which by nature may make you less inclined to sell in the first place. I believe that constant selling adds too much strain to our lives. An analogy I like to use here is, imagine you're on a 2-lane freeway in traffic. You're in the left lane and all of a sudden you notice the right lane begin to go faster now. So what do? You cut into that lane instead. Later to realize you're now stuck in the slower of the 2 lanes. Realizing that if you would have just stuck it out in the left lane to begin with, you actually would have gone further, the fastest, if you simply didn't just switch lanes or get impatient. What I mean by this, friends, is that it's nearly impossible to predict future markets. Stick to your fundamentals. Stick to the reasons you invested in that stock in the first place. Don't rush the process. Don't get impatient with your portfolio. And at the same time, also don't get me wrong, there are certainly times to sell, but the percentage in which I personally sell a stock has been nearly never. I've primarily sold stock spin-offs, and that's about it. All I about do, which is my number 4. Number 4 is create a funding schedule and don't deviate, no matter what. No matter what. No exceptions. Do not waver on this one. This truly deserves a spot on my tips list. So once you've created a dividend portfolio you're proud of, comes the next important piece, funding. Funding is the water, the fertilizer, the nutrients to your newly planted dividend fruit tree. Without any of this maintenance, your fruit tree will suffocate and die off. A dividend portfolio is very similar to this. You are its caretaker. You are the reason it will thrive or dwindle away, get forgotten in a corner, and stagnate. Never providing that shade you so desire. Never providing that passive stream of income that keeps you comfortable. Thus, create a funding schedule. It's so critical to a portfolio's success. I cannot stress this enough. Don't suffocate your portfolio. For me, I dollar cost average every single week without realizing it. And this is what routine funding the portfolio does so well. It will force you to dollar cost average, which over time allows naturally the best strategy with some of the least effort. No timing of the market's necessary. So therefore, for this tip, first you must determine your financial ability. Be honest with yourself. Then through that, find the exact amount you're comfortable investing on a monthly basis and split it up into a weekly amount. And every single week, invest into your portfolio. Once you start, don't negotiate with yourself. In the 2 years I've done this, I have never once gone a week without investing $500, no matter how close I came to not being able to. This one trick, I believe, is so important. This is sticking to a plan at its core. And as we all know, we falter once, it's easier to not do it again, and then not do it again. And before you know it, you're so inconsistent with your funding of this portfolio, you begin to question the reason behind your inability to see results. Well, if you're inconsistent with your work, that's typically a reason why. Number 5, and don't get me wrong, this was a tough top 5 to create, but it did come together naturally, as I've been in this for a while now, so I really know what to look for. But for the last tip, it's rather given, but as a reminder, it's patience. As a dividend investor, you must remind yourself often, quite often, that this strategy takes patience. Don't get discouraged by a poor result, or a slow week, or a declining market. Once you've been in the market for some time, you'll see it. You'll see the tide turn. A nice thing I like to do to look ahead into the future, to just remind myself that the path I'm on makes sense, is to play with dividend calculators pretty often. It's a neat little mental trick, because when you look at your portfolio now, you don't see the results you desire. You don't see that big shady tree. You don't see that stream of passive income. All you see is a slow roll of a rather long and systematic process. So do play with those calculators. See that vision that you already see, but through numbers instead. That way, you can continually remind yourself, oh yeah, this is what I do it for. I know the path I'm on. And no, I'm not sponsored nor affiliated with this website, but I want to share it, as it has truly helped me stay grounded on so many occasions over these last 2 years. It's called the Drip Calculator on the hughcalc.org website. Go on there and play with your numbers, and it'll show you year by year how to expect to grow, and you can play it and adjust your numbers. See what it would look like if you invest this much for this long. It's quite fun. Create your motivation sometimes. Make it exciting. It's a rather long journey, as we all know. And this wouldn't be authentic or true to me if I didn't provide the transparency of the work I'm personally doing. Again, I can only speak on the work that I've done, and these are the things that have worked for me. But here this week, in my dividend portfolio, the Jesse's cash flow portfolio, we currently sit at $59,904.26. And just zooming in a bit closer here, you can see the total return for the portfolio sits at 23.14%, which equates to a total gain of market gain and earned dividends of $6,089.11. And then that number broken down into market gain, which is $4,311, and from earned dividends, it's $1,777. And just to give you an example of how the markets fluctuate, last week and the week before, we didn't see an increase as big as this one, but this last week alone, we saw a 3.59% increase in the portfolio, which equated to a gain of $2,064. And that's just how it rolls sometimes. Tied in, tied out. And now going into the dividend activity section here. Starting on July 26th, we got paid by Oracle, $2.02. And then on July 27th, we got paid by Cisco, $3.84. And then also getting paid by Comcast on the same day, $4.10. And then here we are on July 29th, also getting paid by McGrath RentCorp, $3.96. And on July 29th as well, we had our funnel. This is what I'm talking about. Stay systematic with your deposit. So that's going to wrap up this week's video. One thing to keep in mind, friends, I did want to include the stats for my 2-year mark in this portfolio, such as my holdings, current yield, how much I get paid in dividends. But I figured I'm also about to hit the 60K portfolio mark here really soon. And in those milestone videos, as you know if you've been here for a while, I cover all of that. So I'll for sure cover it in this soon upcoming one. Plus I wanted this video to just be an advice and tips video, which I hope you may have found somewhat helpful. At the end of the day, the key is to just start. A journey starts with a single step, right? I'm sure we've also heard the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. So remember this, friends, and remember, we've also made it through 7 days, and because of that, we have a high chance of making it through another 7. And as always, I'll see you then, and as always, take care.